Hey, what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to go into part 2 of chapter 7 of Marked by PC Cast and Kristen Cast, so let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. It's just a lot to happen all in one day. It certainly is, especially on an empty stomach. We had started walking again, and the sound of a ringing cell phone made me jump. Nefret smiled apologetically at me, and then fished a small phone out of her pocket. Nefret, she said. She listened for a little while, and I saw her forehead wrinkle, her eyes narrow. No, you were right to call me. I'll come back and check on her. And she flipped the phone shut. I'm sorry, Zoe. One of the fledglings broke her leg earlier today. It seems she's having trouble resting, and I should go back and be sure all is well with her. Why don't you follow this hallway around to the left until you come to the main door? You can't miss it. It's large and made of very old wood. Right outside is a stone bench. You can wait there for me. I won't be long. Okay, no problem. But before I finished speaking, Nefret had already disappeared back down the winding hallway. I sighed. I didn't like the idea of being by myself in a place that was full of vampires and vampire kids, and now that Nefret was gone, the little flickering lights didn't seem so welcoming. They seemed spooky, throwing ghostly shadows against the old stone hall. Determined not to freak myself out, I started slowly down the hall in the direction we had been heading. Pretty soon, I almost wished I'd run into some other people, even if they were vampires. It was too quiet and creepy. A couple of times the hall branched off to the right, but like Nefret had told me, I kept to the left. Actually, I also kept my eyes to the left because those other halls had hardly any lights in them. Unfortunately, at the next right-hand turn off the hall, I didn't avert my eyes. Okay, so the reason made sense. I heard something. To be more specific, I heard a laugh. It was a soft, girly laugh that for some reason made their hair on the back of my neck stand up. It also made me stop walking. I peeked down the hall and thought I saw movement in the shadows. Zoe. My name was whispered from the shadows. I blinked in surprise. I had really heard my name. Or was I imagining this? The voice was almost familiar. Could it be Nyx again? Was the goddess calling my name? Almost as afraid as I was intrigued, I held my breath and took a few steps into the side hallway. As I walked around the gentle bend, I saw something ahead of me that made me stop and automatically move closer to the wall. In a little alcove not far from me were two people. At first I couldn't make my mind process what I was seeing. Then a rush I understood. I should have gotten out of there then. I should have backed silently and tried to not think about what I'd seen, but I didn't do any of those things. It was like my feet suddenly so heavy I couldn't pick them up. All I could do was watch. The man. And then was a little jolt of additional shock. I realized that he wasn't a man. He was a teenager, not more than a year or so older than me. He was standing with his back pressed against the stone of the alcove. His head was tilted back and he was breathing hard. His face was in the shadows, but even though he was only particularly visible, I could see that he was handsome. Then another breathlessly laugh drew my eyes downward. She was on her knees in front of him. All I could see of her was her blonde hair. There was so much of it that it looked like she was wearing a veil. Then her hands moved up, running along the guy's thighs. Go, my mind screamed at me. Get out of there. I started to take a step back. Then his voice made me freeze. Stop. My eyes got huge because for a second I thought he was talking to me. You really don't want me to? I felt almost dizzy with relief when he spoke. He was talking to her, not me. They didn't even know I was there. Yes, I do. It sounded as if he was grinding his words between his teeth. Get off your knees. You like it. You know you like it. Just like you know you still want me. Her voice was all husky and trying to be sexy, but I could also hear the whine in it. She sounded almost desperate. I watched her fingers move and my eyes widen in amazement when she drew the nail of her index finger down his thigh. Unbelievably, her fingernail slashed through his jeans just like it was a knife, and a line of fresh blood appeared, startling in its liquid redness. I didn't want to, and it grossed me out, but the sight of the blood in my mouth started watering. No, he snapped, putting his hands on her shoulders and trying to push her away from him. Oh, quit pretending, she laughed again, a mean sarcastic sound. You know we'll always be together. She reached up with her tongue and licked along the line of blood. I shuddered against my will. I was completely mesmerized. Cut it out. He was still pushing at her shoulders. I don't want to hurt you. You're really starting to piss me off. Why can't you understand? We're not doing this anymore. I don't want you. You want me. You always want me. She unzipped his pants. I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be seeing this. I tore my eyes from his bloody thigh to look and took one step back. The guy's eyes lifted. He saw me, and then something truly bizarre happened. I could feel his touch through our eyes. I couldn't look away from him. The girl in front of him seemed to disappear, and all there was in the hallway was him and the sweet, beautiful smell of his blood. "You don't want me. That's not how it looks now," she said with a nasty purr in her voice. I felt my head begin to shake back and forth, back and forth. At the same moment, he cried no and tried to push her out of the way so that he could move toward me. I ripped my eyes away from him and stumbled back. "No," he said again. This time I knew he was speaking to me and not her. She must have realized it too, because with a cry that sounded uncomfortably like the snarl of a wild animal, she started to whirl around. My body unfroze. At the same instant, I turned and ran back down the hall. I expected them to come after me, so I kept running until I reached the huge old doors Nefret had described. Then I stood there leaning against their cold wood, trying to get my breathing under control so I could listen for the sounds of running feet. What would I do if they did chase me down? My head was pounding painfully again, and I felt weak and totally scared and completely, utterly grossed out. Yes, I was aware of the whole oral sex thing. I doubt if there's a teenager alive in America today who isn't aware of most of the adult public think we're giving guys blowjobs like they used to give guys gum, or maybe more appropriately suckers. Okay, that's just bullshit, and it's always made me mad. Not all teenagers have sex, not all teenagers drink, we're individuals, and stereotyping is not cool at all. Okay, so I knew the whole blowjob issue. I definitely never seen one, so what I had just seen had freaked me out. But what had freaked me out more than the fact that the blonde was basically sexually assaulting the poor guy was the way I'd responded to seeing his blood. I wanted to lick it too, and that's just not normal. Then there's the whole issue about me sharing the weird look with him. What had then been all about? "Zoe, you were all right?" "Hell," I gasped and jumped. Nefret was standing behind me, looking at me with total confusion. "Are you feeling ill?" My mind flailed about. No way I could tell her what I'd just seen. "My head just really hurts," I finally managed to say, and it was true. I had a killer headache. Her frown was full of concern. "Let me help you." Nefret placed her hand lightly on the line of my stitches on my forehead. She closed her eyes, and I could hear her whispering something in a language I could not understand. Then her hand started to feel warm, and it was as if the warmth became liquid to my skin, absorbed it. I closed my eyes in sighed in relief as the pain in my head began to fade. "Better?" "Yes," I whispered. She took her hand away and opened her eyes. "That should keep the pain away." I don't know why it suddenly came back with such force. "Me neither, but it's gone now," I said quickly. She studied me silently for a little while more while I held my breath. Then she said, "Anything upset you?" I swallowed. "I'm a little scared about meeting my new roommate." Which technically wasn't a lie. It was what had upset me, but I was scared about it. Nefret's smile was kind. "All will be well, Zoe. Now let me introduce you to your new life." Nefret opened a thick wooden door, and we walked out into a large country courtyard that fronted the school. I'm going to leave this off here. There will be a part 3 to this chapter. This chapter is long, so I will see you guys in the next video.